when you feel your best, you do your best. And I realized that. I'm like, I remember I seen a meme a long time ago where it was like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I really internalized that meme. Like, I think about that might have been the most important meme I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, that's so true. You can't, like, and I realized when I take care of myself and do the things that I love to do personally, I'm that much more effective and impactful in my job. So I make sure to exercise, because I realize exercise, not because, oh, I just want to, you know, look good. I just realize exercising makes me feel good inside, you know. So even when I don't feel like exercising, I'm like, oh, I need to do that because, you know, whatever the endorphin, whatever that is that helps you to feel good, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I love looking good, so I make sure I go get my nails done, you know, just because all of that just helps you to be more confident when you come into the workplace, you know. And you know, women, when we don't have our hair done, we're like, oh, we don't feel as amazing, you know. So you want to feel good. You want to go into those meetings and know you look good, you know. So those are the things that help me to just stay on top of, you know, the self-care, and then making sure I spend a lot of time with my family. That's important. Like, I was at Grammy Week in LA, and I left on Saturday morning right before all the like popping parties, like before the Rock Nation brunch. Meek ended up having a party with Drake. I was on a plane coming to New York, and everybody was like, why you left? I was like, cause I wanted to be with my cousin for her birthday, you know, and I had fun. I was happy. So making sure that, you know, I keep my friends close.
And the other was just to run through like a pointing out a prominent teaching moment from, you know, your career, something that was
teaching moment for me. So I had a moment where, was that? Yeah, I guess it was a teacher moment. I had a moment where I worked with someone in my career, you know, which everyone definitely knows who the person is, but I'd rather not say the name. But I worked really closely with this person, like to the point where as soon as the person needed me, you know, like I would literally like, okay, he want to have a meeting, you know, the next day I'm on a plane, you know, I had to go to the plane. And we, you know, we fell out really bad for whatever reasons. You know, I think it was a lot of political reasons. Like, you know, people, I realized as you grow, like it literally is like as you get bigger, you get more, you know, more problems. So not necessarily, I don't want to say more money, more problems, but more power, more problems, you know. And the politics really started hitting me, and it got in the way of our kind of, you know, in our working relationship. And that was a moment for me to not harbor on things, you know. Like I was like, okay, I invested a lot of time into this, a lot of energy, but I also got something out of it too, and I have to move on, you know. And you know, I think we take things personal too much without realizing what the journey was for, or what that season was for, you know. And that helped me to not get attached too much, you know. It's like, do your best work and move on, because you're not, you know, at the end of the day, it's business.
Got it. And then one last question, because you mentioned development. Do you believe artists nowadays need artist development, or do you just themselves?
No, artists need artist development. It's, you know, I always say music, lifestyle sells almost more than music, or just as much as music, right? So it's important when we're signing artists to approach them as a brand. Like, what is it about you, not just from a music perspective, but what is it about you that you can bring other people in, right? Because like Meek, for instance, when we started approaching his career and just like setting him up, we realized, you know, he naturally liked dirt bikes. We realized that can transfer over to a whole new audience, you know. So how do we put that on a bigger platform? How do we tell that story? Let's shoot a bunch of content with him on the bikes. Let's speak to some partners. That's when we got Monster Energy involved, and that even broadened it, you know. So it's definitely important to take all of those points about a particular artist and figure out how do you build a story, how do you create a narrative so that it's not all dependent on one thing, you know, and that's artist development in my opinion. And I don't think we do that enough. But I do think when you are intentional about that, you see the growth in the artist, you see how their audience expands. It doesn't just look like one thing, you know. So yes, artist development is super important. I think artist development gets you into arenas, you know. Artist development helps to just make you more money as an artist and as a label. So yes, definitely think it's super important.
Okay. What advice would you give to an entrepreneur that's actually trying to build their own powerhouse, but they don't have the funding, but they would like to build a team as far as PR, management, marketing also, but it's kind of a thing where people are like, I feel like I should get paid to do X, Y, and Z, but it's no funding, but you have this idea, you want to bring it to life, and how do you just go about just pitching your ideas to others to make them actually see the vision without the funding?
It's hard. It's definitely hard to do, but I always say if it's something that's in your heart and you believe that it's something that you genuinely want to do, you'll figure it out, right? And I think the internet has given everyone a moment, a free marketing moment, right? And I think if you utilize it the right way, there are ways to like it can catapult your steps. Like, it's not going to get you all the way there, but you know, utilizing your resources around you to even create a platform to be heard, I think is the starting point. Like for us as, you know, labels, because it's so much, I've never seen this amount of talent right now, right? And we have to, like, it's not that we don't want to find the artists that are like all the way at the ground, but we don't have that. It's like we got to go to the internet and see who's doing what, right? So our starting point really is research and looking at, you know, the YouTubes and the social media platforms, Instagram. So I just feel like you have to take the first step of like figuring out, like, from how can I get heard? I might not have the funding, but I have the access of the internet. Maybe that's my first step, right? I always say once you take the first step, or you know, you continue to figure out like little baby steps, doors are gonna keep opening, right? But it's not one easy answer of like, how do I get in front of the right people? It's like, how do you make people pay attention to what you're doing, you know? Because all it takes is one person to see something really cool that you've done, and that'll open up a whole new wave of doors for you, you know? I think the approach should be, how can I differentiate what I'm doing from what everybody else is doing so that I can resonate and be heard a little louder, you know? So how can I get a little bit more creative with my approach? And there's millions of ways to do that, but I definitely think, you know, even if it takes you and a friend, you know, it might start out with you just being super dedicated yourself first, and you know, and people seeing that dedication, because I think once people see growth, they're like, oh, I want to be a part of it, you know, and then you'll eventually get more and more people to kind of join your movement. But sometimes you just gotta buckle down and be like, you know what, I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna utilize the internet, and I'm gonna utilize my network, and eventually something will come, you know, as long as you stay consistent with it.
How do you demand, you know, it's a male-dominated industry, so then how do you demand respect but without coming off like you have an attitude or something, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But how do you like?
I had to work on that, because I did come off with a lot of attitude, you know, and I had to take emotion out of it. You know, I think as women we're just naturally emotional, and we feel personally attacked a lot. And I think it's more so when you take the emotion out of it, you can speak more clearly and you can articulate yourself a little bit better. And I think part of that is just being confident in what you're saying. The other part of it is keep doing the work and keep proving them that your voice should be heard. Because at some point, they're going to stop doubting you. You know, no matter whether you're a woman, no matter, you know, I grew up in this business, not only a woman, but also a very young woman. Like, I started at 15 years old. So I not only had the fact that I was a woman against me, but I had the fact that I was young, and for that, you know, your opinion wouldn't be valued as much. Then it came to a point where it's like, oh, she keeps putting points on the board. I have to pay attention to what she's doing. You know, I have to hear her. So the most important thing, I think, is to continue to do the work, because they respect the work more than anything else, whether they want to or not. You know, it's like, at the end of the day, this is a business. If you're delivering, they're going to hear you out.